YouTube, what's going on? We are back with another mock draft simulation, and today we're talking Washington Commanders. As always, if you like the video, we appreciate if you like the video. And hit that notification icon, stay up to date when we go live. We did a staff mock draft the other night, or when I dropped any more of these simulations, or any other content we do. Let's get into it. We know that the Commanders are in the quarterback sweepstakes at pick 2. We know that they've made a lot of changes this offseason. They've added plenty of offensive line help in Baidaz from Dallas. They've added Allegretti from Kansas City. They've got, some pass catching help in the form of Zach Ertz. They even got Austin Eckler for some running back help, although they have depth at quarterback, but they need a starting quarterback, so we're going to address it at pick 2. At this point, it's basically turning in the card. We know Caleb Williams is going to be one to Chicago. If he isn't, that would be a huge shock to the system. And, sometimes we're here for it. But with that being said, we're 100% certain that it's going to be Caleb Williams. So that then tells us we've got two options. We go Jaden Daniels, we go Drake May. If you watch the mock draft that the team did, I brought up JJ McCarthy's name, although it wasn't in serious contention here for pick 2. But I know that a lot of folks are starting to see him as a top half of the first round type selection because of the tools and traits potentially. Everybody's got a different feeling about JJ McCarthy. I'm setting that aside. For me, it's a 2-dog race here in terms of Drake May and Jaden Daniels. I'm looking at what Washington did in the offseason. Dan Quinn, Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury's offense, when Kyler Murray was healthy, you see the way that offense worked. Insert a bigger, arguably just as strong-armed and fast Jaden Daniels. I think that really puts them at another level with what they have already. They've got receivers, Terry McLaurin, Jahan Dotson, even veterans, Brown and Crowder and Zacchaeus, who they brought in free agency. They've got a lot of weapons for Jaden Daniels, a fairly solid offensive line in place. Running backs now are set. You insert a quarterback like Jaden Daniels who's got that athletic profile, he's got the arm talent to be able to sling it all over the field. And just to keep the class in order and let everybody know how the rest of the draft fell, we're going to look at what's happened so far as we move to the next Washington pick at 36. Obviously, Drake May was still up there. We saw Neighbors, Harrison Jr. go, Odunze. We saw 3 receivers go in a row, which if you watched our draft, our team draft, we expect a lot of receivers to go early, especially those teams that need a 1. Tennessee went alt, although I don't know if Tennessee would go alt in real life just because they need a lot of edge help. Terry Arnold, Brock Bowers to Chicago is really surprising with Komet there and some of the moves that they've done. But hey, they've put themselves in a position that they can kind of do what they want to do at pick 9, whether it's trade back, trade up, stay pat. There you go. Vegas, JJ McCarthy, they really button hooked basically any of the next 3 to 4 teams that wanted a potential quarterback there. That is now off the table because he goes to Vegas. Dallas Turner, Fuaga, Fushanu, Mitchell, Brian Thomas Jr. to Indy's a really juicy one. Leatu Latu, Jared Verse. So kind of the names that we've been hearing about as first round guys are going in the first round here. We wrap it up with some other names that are very popular. Chop Robinson, Nate Wiggins, Johnny Newton. We ended with Keon Coleman. Kansas City getting their wide receiver 1 to go with whether it's Rice, Moore, whoever winds up being the guys that they put with them. That'd be really fun. Now we get to round 2. Hayes, Samataya. I apologize, I'm going to butcher that name every time. Kingsley, the King, goes to New England, and then Enos Rickestra, who's been considered, I know he took a top 30 visit to Detroit, so there's some really interesting names that go off here at the beginning of the second round. So that means now Washington's sitting there in the second round. They could use some help, some edge help. Obviously, they traded away both their edge rushers. And then you look at what we have on the board here. We've got Darius Robinson. You look at some of the other players that are still here on the board. We obviously have the quarterbacks. This would be the spot if I was doing trades and for a team that needed a quarterback, Minnesota, or a team that wanted to jump over Minnesota to get a quarterback. Washington would be smart to trade down and get more picks. This would be a perfect spot to do it. Because we're not doing that, we're going to look at what's on the board. I look at the age of their linebackers, especially their Mike linebacker and Wagner. That's a concern, so we need to consider linebacker here in the second round. But I don't know, Cooper would probably be the top linebacker here, and I think he's more of an off-ball outside guy, maybe not necessarily a Mike. So I think at that point, then you look, okay, we need secondary help. There's some corners sitting here. Melton is a name that I started hearing people talk about a little bit more and more as time's gone on. You know what? We're going to turn in the car. We're going to go get an edge rusher. We're going to grab Chris Braswell from Alabama. He's got a really nice athletic profile. I think there's a lot to like about what he brings to the table. And because I don't love what was sitting on the board here, and I knew that we had a pick coming up and we're rejecting trades, we're not taking this one. Because I knew we had another pick coming up here in the second round, I could sit and wait, and I'm going to turn around and then take a corner. I'm going to get Kamari Lassiter from Georgia. I mean, why not build on that defense and really help your cornerback room? I know you've got Manuel Fords and you grabbed Davis. You've got Benjamin St. Juste. You've got James. I mean, you got a lot of guys, but you need some high quality talent. And I think Forbes is a really nice piece to build around. And I think Lassiter is going to be a nice piece to build around. So it may feel like a little bit of a reach, but because we're not trading, I'm going to go best player, positions of need, things like that, and just lock it in here. Give me Kamari Lassiter, Georgia. Back on the board at pick 67, we're in another weird spot where what's available, kind of the top players available, at least based on the simulator, and doesn't necessarily get us in a place where we're going to jump all over one of these guys. I would have loved a Cedric Gray to slip to this spot, but obviously we saw that he went a couple spots earlier, because I really do think that we should be addressing an interior linebacker at some point in this draft, if possible, depending on how the board fell. Now, obviously, we're not doing any trading, so we're going to look and see what we got here. Lots of running backs, lots of wide receivers. This is kind of the late second through the third, fourth round. This is the sweet spot where I think you see a lot of these type of guys go. I think your safeties, you start to see really going off the board here. I think at this point, I'm just going to look at, even though we're going to build on a position of strength here, I know that Roman Wilson's sitting here. I know that we've got a few wide receivers, McMillan, but then I see that Tez Walker from North Carolina sitting here, had a massive athletic profile, has a great RAS score. I think it was like 9.7 or something like that for those of you that care about RAS. Produced well at North Carolina, obviously had a really good quarterback, but he's going to go to a place where he's got another really good quarterback. Doesn't have to step in and play right away, can be a depth guy, can develop. Don't think of this guy as Diami Brown 2.0. I know that you guys have Brown on your roster as a former UNC wideout. These are two very different types of players. For those of you that were going to blast the comments because Nealon was on the board and we didn't take him, I thought about him and I'm taking him here. Marshawn Nealon from Western Michigan, good run defender, a good edge defender that I think will be fun to add to this defense because we've already added Braswell. You've got your tackles, your interior guys set. I mean, you got three really strong interior guys that you can start with. Now you've got some edge rushers. You've got some guys that also can play the run off the edge. I mean, why not? I mean, that really helps kind of set the tone for this defense because you were still trying to find some things there, and they don't necessarily have to play early, right? You got Armstrong and Farrell, veterans that have come in that can be leaders and help them as they develop. I think it's a great move. Whether they start early or they don't, this could be huge for Washington trying to rebuild. And and Dan Quinn, I mean, this is a guy that you can trust with these edge rushers that I think you can help develop them, turn them into something really good. So we saw a ton of picks in the first 100. Now the back half, we've only got about 4 left, so we're going to make the most of what we've got here. Now, we've been addressing some defensive help because honestly, they needed more attention on the defense. We're going offensive line though. So I see Dominic Pooney here from Kansas. I love his athletic ability, his ability to do stunts, to handle the run game. I think something that they're going to want to try to do. They're going to want to establish some running ability with what they've got in Eckler and Robinson and even Rodriguez to an extent. So I think a guy like Pooney brings a really good size, athletic profile to the table that I think can help them. Whether he starts early or not, I think he's a guy that long-term could be in play as consideration for a starting guard for a long time to come. And I think he can play either guard spot. So I like the way that this guy plays the game, and I think he is a really great pick here for them at 100. All right, we're in the 5th round, and we're finally going to get to that linebacker I kept talking about. I really like the way this board has fallen. I know that there's some players here that we could consider. I know that Garendo, the running back, is a guy that people love, and I've been taking him kind of in this 5th round area for teams, but obviously Washington set there. We're going Curtis Jacobs from Penn State. Instinctive, good tackler. I think he's probably more of a cover linebacker, but he's very quick. Back on the board at pick 152, we're looking for guys that have some sort of really high upside trait. Like I say it in every video. So I'm not going to bore you with any kind of crazy talk. I'm going Jonah Ellis from Utah, 6'2", right around the 250 mark, extremely explosive. The athletic profile is there, and he's really good off the edge. I mean, because they're still trying to build that identity on the edges and attacking opposing quarterbacks, I don't think you can have enough of these guys in your roster. And the way that this draft fell, I don't necessarily think they need running backs and safeties, which there was a of here, especially interior defensive lineman as well. So I'm going to go with another edge rusher. Give me Jonah Ellison. Let's go. All right, last pick 222, and this was quite the conundrum here as to which direction to go. We've got a lot of corners, we've got some running backs, we've got some safeties. I don't really love the way the board fell out at this point, so I'm looking for somebody with some sort of trait or skill that I really like. And I look at what Washington did in the offseason, going after a guy like Eckler tells me that they're looking for, you know, somebody that can be between the tackles guy, but is really excels in the pass game. And I think about what running backs are available that do that as well. And Jace McClellan from Alabama fits that role for me. I mean, I think that's what we see and what we're looking at here. Very soft hands. He's got a really long stride. I think we haven't seen the best from McClellan. So we're going to take him here and just bank on maybe seeing more than what we have so far in his time, you know, in Alabama and at college. And I think, you know, putting him in a situation where he can learn from Eckler, can learn from, you know, from Robinson and you know, in time be involved, I think could be a really nice developmental thing for him. And as I said, we need a pass catching back, I think, after Eckler's gone. So why not grab McClellan and see if he fits that mold? All right, Washington fans, draft is over. It's in the books. It's kaput. How do you feel about this? We got you your quarterback. We got you some edge help. We got you some DBs. We got you some offensive linemen, even a running back and a linebacker, a wide receiver. Well, how did we do? How did I do? What do you think? Tell me in the comments below. And we'll see you in the next one.